All right, DHS posting the mugshot of the son of a high-ranking Iranian official known as Screaming Mary. She worked as the spokeswoman for the terrorists behind the 1979 U.S. Embassy takeover, which included more than 50 Americans held hostage for 444 days. Secretary of State Marco Rubio writing on X, quote, this week I terminated their lawful permanent resident status. And today, Saeed Asha Hashemi and Miriam Tamasabi and their son are now in custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement pending their removal from our country. Her family should never have been allowed to benefit from the extraordinary privilege of living in our country. Former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey joins me now. Jonathan, this follows news that the niece and grandniece of Qasem Soleimani were living here. The daughter of Ali Larijani, who is the de facto ruler of Iran, was living here and working as a professor. These two individuals were professors as well. And separately, there's an Iranian activist who spoke to the New York Post and said that she has been collecting evidence about these people living in the United States, benefiting from the U.S. and providing that information to the feds. And she says that there are thousands more Iranians with ties to the terrorist regime living in the U.S. And she goes on to say these people can be sleeper cells, and at the right time they may get activated.
I don't believe in the whole sleeper cell shit.
And that is why what the Department of Homeland Security or immigration is doing to deport these people is so valid. I mean, she lays it out there, but I'll ask you this question. How big of a threat
they
are
should have
these
been
people
taken
that we're just
care
learning
of
about now,
and
living in the
removed
United States
before
with deep ties
any
to
of
the
this?
Iranian regime?
They're not
How
sleeper
big of a
cells.
threat is this to all
They're
of
lying
us?
to you.
I think this should be taken very seriously, and it could be a very big threat, and we just don't even know. And that's the interesting thing about it, is how many other people that might not be sort of as well known or as easily identifiable in terms of being connected to the regime be in this country. And I think Secretary Rubio's point was such a great point in that it's an extraordinary benefit to be here. And why did we let people like this in here to begin with? Where was the vetting on that end? But yeah, on the national security end, what he's doing is exactly right. Hopefully it deters others.
Are they going to say Biden let them in?
There's a concern, and it sort of brings us back to we need DHS open because we need to prevent something bad from happening rather than react to it if something bad does happen.
That's so true, and not just by executive order of the president to pay these important workers, but actually have the department fully open. There's another Iranian activist, Jonathan, who said they are here to influence policy, talking about these Iranians. They are here to steal technology, and that's a national security threat. We are incredibly happy to see the U.S. is finally deporting
they have this
these
information and they still allow them to be here.
That they built for
It's
Iranian
bullshit.
citizens.
It's made up shit.
You asked the question, and I'll pose it to you again. Why were these people allowed to come to the United States in the first place?
This just really shows that, I don't know the specifics of each one of these people, but where was our vetting and how are we vetting people that are loyal to the country? Because these are lawful permanent residents, meaning they are on track to get citizenship in the United States. And if you're going to do that, you should be loyal to the United States, not loyal to the Iranian regime or anywhere else. But yeah, it does show really a difference between the Trump policy and the prior policies of other administrations where the Trump policy is putting America first, and if you aren't loyal or if we don't know, you shouldn't come in. And that's the really scary thing about what's been going on the prior 4 years under the Biden administration, because so much of the people that are here, we just don't know, and that's the worst or the scariest part of it all.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And, it only makes common sense to take a closer look at this, especially given what's going on right now in the Middle East. So how difficult will it be? Are we being proactive about this in terms of looking at who's been given a green card, doing a real deep investigation into the Iranian Americans, or the Iranians rather, who are here in America right now, and figuring out if they have regime ties, and also people in other adversarial countries who are here?
It does seem like we're being proactive just because of these recent actions by Marco Rubio.
It's
and
bullshit lies.
My supposition
It's bullshit lies.
There are other people that aren't as high
bullshit
profile
lies.
that the same
Shut up,
thing
bro.
may in fact be happening. But hopefully we are proactive.
You're just trying to scare people,
not just the Iranian
dude.
regime, like you said, but other regimes that may
The
be
news
harmful
is
to us.
only here
People
to
need to
scare
go, and the
the citizens.
most important part is
It's bullshit.
let's stop people coming in that might harm us, because it's a lot harder
Might
to kick
harm
someone
us.
out than to say
Keywords
you can't
here,
come in.
guys.
And I think
Keywords.
that's one of the best things this administration's been doing.
Yeah, so far 3 families with
Fucking
ties
bullshit.
to high-ranking
It's
Iranian
lies.
officials. And in 2 of those families, there were people working as college professors, which is another through line that should not be ignored. Former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey, we thank you so much for your time on this very important and concerning topic.
Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's lies. And if you believe any of this shit, you're brainwashed. They don't have... this information just doesn't automatically pop up. They had this stuff long years of information, and they're just now doing something about it because we're at war with them. We've always been at war with them. We just didn't do anything, and now now all of a sudden it happens, and now all these sleeper cells are popping up. The sleeper cells have been here for years, before Trump's first term, back in Obama and Bush. Both Bushes, the sleeper cells were here. That's why the attacks on the towers happened. That had nothing to do with Trump. 9/11 had nothing to do with Trump. But it still happened. The sleeper cells have been here. They've had the information. They just didn't want to do anything about it because it's a bargaining chip. I'm done.